Of Mystery Ghost Stories. I am, of course, your host, Justin Bienvenu. It is the season finale of Mystery Ghost Stories, as I only had around 5 or 6 episodes for this season. But fear not, because I will be back soon enough for another installment and, of course, the continuation of Mystery Unsolved. But I will talk about that at the end of tonight's episode, because tonight we will be talking about the Myrtles Plantation. Heard of it, have you? Been there, have you? Then perhaps it's all sound familiar with you. But without further ado, Mystery Ghost Stories, Myrtles Plantation. So I have 2 articles up. One is extremely quick, and then we're going to get into the more deeper, in-depth article. So first things first, legends and ghost stories. So the Myrtles Plantation is a historic home and former antebellum plantation in St. Francisville, Louisiana, United States, built in 1796 by General David Bradford. So this guy most likely served with General George Washington, former First President George Washington. It is listed as a United States National Register of Historical Places. So before you go off on a whim here and say that it's racist because it's a plantation, no shit. It's also under the historical register. It's also a historical place. I cannot talk. I've been doing this all week. I will talk faster than my brain can process. Yes, apparently that's a thing. So it's in Louisiana, good old Louisiana, Creole Cottage. Let's see. It was named Laurel Grove. Bradford lived there alone for several years until President John Adams pardoned him for his role in the Pennsylvania Whiskey Rebellion in 1799. He then moved his wife Elizabeth and their 5 children to the plantation in Pennsylvania, from Pennsylvania. Upon Bradford's death in 1808, his widow Elizabeth continued running the plantation until 1817, when she handed the management to Clark Woodruff, one of Bradford's former law students, who had married her daughter, Sarah Mathilda. The Woodruffs had 3 children. Okay, that's kind of not important. 2 of her 3 children died in 1823 and 1824 of yellow fever. When Elizabeth Bradford died in 1831, Clark Woodruff and his surviving daughter, Mary Octavia, moved to Covington, Louisiana. So basically, it's just going to tell you all the people that own the place. The Myrtles survived the American Civil War. And it's just a bunch of people who owned it and the people that died. But it doesn't say they died in the house, so I'm not sure. Although Jesus Christ, I cannot talk. Back then, didn't most people die in their own homes? Like, there wasn't many hospitals. So, it could be a safe assumption here that a lot of people may have died in the house, the plantation, if you will. A lot of people bought it. The plantation house is rumored to be on top of an ancient Tunica Indian burial ground. Oh, here we go. So, again, I didn't really read if people died on the premises. It doesn't say that. I'm assuming they died in the property, in the house. But a little icing on the cake here. It's rumored to be on top of an ancient Tunica Indian burial ground. And we all know how buildings that are built on ancient Indian burial grounds go. It is currently a bed and breakfast and offers historical and mystery tours. It is often reported that 10 murders occurred in the house but historical records only indicate the murder of William Winter. We're going to go back. I will go back and we will go over this William Winter fellow. William Drew Winter is very popular in the plantation. He was an attorney who lived in the plantation from 1865 to 1871. He was shot by a stranger. After being shot, he staggered inside the house and died trying to climb the stairs to get to his wife. He died on the 17th step of the stairs. Wow! A little detail there. So let us go back for a moment to see if they mention Mr. Winter. Here we go. The Myrtles survived the American Civil War, though robbed of its fine furnishings and expensive accessories. In 1865, Mary Cobb Sterling hired William Drew Winter to help manage the plantation as her lawyer and agent. Winter was married to Sterling's daughter, Sarah. So, I did skip a little bit of the history, but it definitely seems like there's a pattern here. Like somebody gets brought on because they're the husband of the sister or the daughter or the husband or the son. Sarah went on to have 6 children, one of whom, Kate Winter, died from typhoid at the age of 3. So another thing that people in the olden days like to do is have a lot of kids and not be able to support all of them. Although if you live in a plantation, you probably could have. And also worth noting, they had a lot of kids and a lot of them died, which is just really unfortunate of the time. And it's always the yellow fever or the scarlet fever or the typhoid, you know? The family fortune was lost in the aftermath of the war due to it being tied up in Confederate currency. Ooh, that's good. And the Winters were forced to sell the plantation in 1868, but were able to buy it back 2 years later. Huh? Like, we're going to sell our home, but we'll be back in 2 years when we have the money. Real money, not Confederate. Real money. In 1860, oh, I already read that. In 1871, William Winter was killed on the porch of the house, possibly by a man named E.S. Weber. Sarah remained at the Myrtles with her mother and siblings until 1878, when she died. Mary Cobb Sterling died in 1880, and the plantation passed to her son Stephen. The plantation was heavily in debt, however, and Stephen sold it in 1886 to Orland D. Brooks. The list of people that own this place must be staggering. Who in turn sold it in 1889. The plantation changed hands several times until 1891, when it was purchased by Harry Milton Williams. Several times within a year. This place has had more owners than the NFL Arizona Cardinals have had coaches. And the Cardinals have a lot of coaches because they've been around since the 20s. So, and this place has been around for over 400 years, maybe 300 years. Okay. In 2002, Unsolved Mysteries filmed a segment about the alleged hauntings at the plantation. It's kind of why we're here, folks. I saw an episode of Unsolved Mysteries. That's why we're here. The Myrtles was also featured on a 2005 episode of Ghost Hunters. I don't know if I remember that episode. Other television shows which profiled the plantation include Ghost Adventures, of course, and Most Terrifying Places in America. That's also why we're here. I watched it on Most Terrifying Places in America, which I've seen like 5 times. Anytime that's on Travel Channel, I'll just throw it on and be like, yep, I remember this one. All right, so article number 2. It is worth noting we may come across Mr. William Winter, as we should, because, I mean, the man died in perhaps very dramatic fashion. Located in the deep American South, where summers are warm and the air is thick, with the spirits of overworked slaves and brutal masters, lies the Myrtles Plantation in St. Francisville, Louisiana. With its majestic wraparound veranda, blue trim, and 20 rooms, It sits on high ground, appearing like a fortress as you approach. I believe, before I go any further, excuse me, if I remember correctly, there's a spirit of a little girl who likes to she likes to haunt a little like a swing on in between two trees. If I remember correctly, that's what I remember from Unsolved Mysteries. Let's see if I'm right. It appears to be something out of a storybook. However, its history is not for the faint of heart. Our story begins with a newly married couple, Mr. and Mrs. Clark Woodruff. You remember the Woodruffs? We just talked about them. Mr. Woodruff was a prestigious judge and owned numerous slaves. Oh, here we go. As was the norm at the time. Sure was, unfortunately. One of his house slaves went by the name of Chloe, who for many years fell victim to Woodruff's cruelty. Chloe tried to protect herself from the abuse by listening to the Woodruff's conversations and modifying her behavior. I mean, instead of walking on eggshells, you might as well. Up one day, after being caught eavesdropping, Woodruff had Chloe's ears cut off. Oh, wow. We're just going to, wow. Wow. Did not see that coming. Wow. You want to use those ears to eavesdrop on me and my wife's conversation? Off with your ears. Dear God. Forcing her to carry the shame and disfigurement the rest of her life. Her mutilation was hidden at the request of the Woodruffs by the use of a green turban. I mean, I would assume she herself would not want it. Unless she was one of those people like, look what the Woodruffs did to me. Wow. No one would see this terrifying mark, but the painful experience would stay with Chloe and inspire her to make plans for revenge. Oh shit. On the ninth birthday of the birth, Jesus Christ, I cannot talk. On the ninth birthday of the Woodruff's daughter, Chloe placed poisonous oleander leaves into the cake. Oh shit! This I did not see this coming, right? Compared to what I just read to you, this is like, wow, this is straight out of like an Agatha Christie novel or something. Chloe's plan was to poison Mrs. Woodruff and their children. Some sources claim that it was never her intention to kill the three family members. They suggest that Chloe wanted to get them sick so she could nurse them back to health. In the South, local healers were among the most respected of the community. If Chloe could heal the family, she would be saved from the harsh reality of working in the fields. Tragically, the dosage was lethal, and it ended up killing Mrs. Woodruff and her two children. Wow. Wow. After word spread of her actions on the plantation, the other slaves were the ones to take revenge. Chloe was hanged by the neck for everyone to witness until the life was drained from her body. She was then weighed down by rocks and thrown into the Mississippi River. Oh my God. You know, Chloe, I don't have words. I don't have words. The plantation was site of other gruesome activity after Chloe's death. I mean, can that be topped? I mean, we already know about William Winter, but, you know, getting gunned down and then dying on the 17th step of the plantation, it doesn't do justice for what Chloe did to that family or what they did to her. The new owner, a wealthy family man, and his 5 children would pass away from tuberculosis on the property. Oh, see, I kind of figured this because, like, there wasn't a lot of hospitals back. I don't think there was many hospitals back then. Well, they didn't call them hospitals or whatever. Anyway, they were a hell of a ways away. This is a plantation on big acre of land, hospital, medical facility, whatever you want to call it, probably miles away, if not in the next county. The home was later passed to one of his surviving daughters and her husband, the Winters. One day, as Mr. Winter was teaching, an unknown man rode up to a horse, yelling to see him. As he came out to address this man, he was shot at point-blank range on his front porch. Imagine just standing on your front porch, drinking some good old-fashioned lemonade, and this guy just comes up on a horse and is like, "Hey, you, Winters," and just kills you. He retreated into the home and staggered up the stairs to eventually die in the arms of his wife. On the 17th step, let's not forget that, the sounds of his strong and forceful stomps still linger in the home today, as visitors report hearing heavy footsteps from empty staircases. I believe that. Like you figure he was staggering up those steps and he died on those steps. And you know how you always hear like, oh, you can hear the sound of footsteps. This man literally died on the freaking steps. I would assume he's going to haunt them. The plantation went on to be used as a film set for movies like The Long Hot Summer. These visitors were not safe from their own paranormal encounters. While filming, cast and crew members reported witnessing furniture moving around the home all on its own. They could find nothing to explain this activity. The paranormal activity became more noticeable beginning in the 1970s once it was purchased by the Myers family. God, I really want to see the deed of all the people that own this place. It must be like 5 Bibles long. Multiple guests and residents reported seeing the transparent and ghostly apparitions of a young girl wearing a green turban moving throughout the property. In 1992, the owner took a famous photo that they believe captures Chloe's spirit. Oh, I just got chills looking at this photo. The back of my neck just went like really cold. Oh man, if I can zoom in on this, do I really want to? Do I want to spook myself out? Oh wow, yeah. I'm gonna try to see if you can see it. I will turn the light off even. You can't really see it. But yeah, she's pretty much up against the side of um the building. And it's just kinda like, yeah. The photo was intended to be used to secure an insurance policy for the home in case of fire or other natural disasters, not to prove paranormal activity. The presence of a human figure within the photo was undiscovered until it was developed. The owner reports that there was no one in the area at the time the photo was taken. One of the most disturbing paranormal reports occurs inside the home. I'm the back of my neck is getting chills as I read this. Jesus. In the grand hallway, there is an antique mirror just outside of the dining room. The visitors report seeing Woodruff's children appear in the mirror near the room where they were poisoned. One researcher noted that each time the mirror is replaced or resilvered, the same handprint reappears as if they refuse to be ignored. And there's a picture of the mirror, but it doesn't look like a handprint as so much as it looks like a marking or like an etching. Despite the many ghost stories, there is some debate if Chloe ever existed. Wait, really? You're not just going to throw that story at us right off the bat and then be like, yeah, there's questions about whether or not she really existed, or if it was her real name. Today, this residence is known as the Myrtles Plantation Bed and Breakfast, but it is also recognized as one of the most haunted houses in America, according to National Geographic. They offer historical tours throughout the day and into the dark of night. Wow. Let me see if I can find another one. All right, they have the Legend of Chloe, which we just found out. Let's go a little bit more in depth about Chloe because she seems to be the biggest um, spirit that's here, which would make sense. We know this part. I'm just seeing if there's anything else on Chloe that we don't know. While the U.S. federal census confirms that the family owned 5 enslaved people in 1820 and 32 enslaved people in 1830, historical documentation does not support the legend, as there are no known records of the Woodruffs owning a slave named Chloe or Chloe. The legend usually claimed that Sarah and her 2 daughters were poisoned, but Mary Octavia survived well into adulthood. Finally, Sarah, James, and Cornelia Woodruff were not killed by poisoning, but instead succumbed to yellow fever. Regardless of the factual inaccuracy of Chloe, some believe a woman wearing a green turban haunts the plantation. I don't know, I kind of like the story. Like, when I mean I like the story, I mean, like, it's believable to me. Because it's, like, really messed up, and, like, why would you make something up that's that messed up? All right, other legends. So let's see what we got. Native American burial ground. The house is reputedly built over an Indian burial ground, and the ghost of a young Native American woman has been reported. During the Civil War, the house was ransacked by Union soldiers, and legends claim that 3 were killed inside the house. Supposedly, there is a blood stain in a doorway, roughly the size of a human body, that will not or would not come clean. Oh, oh, that's gross. Other legends say that cleaners have been unable to push their mop or broom into that space. Wow. Up the mirror. Yep. The plantation is also reportedly haunted by a young girl who died in 1868, despite being treated by a local voodoo practitioner. She supposedly appears in the room in which she died, and has been reported to practice voodoo on people sleeping in the room. This place has all sorts of hauntings. You want some voodoo? You can go over in that room. Oh, you want to see Chloe, the one who poisoned the children and she herself hanged? That room over there. Oh, you want to see the Woodruff children in or the Winter children in their handprints in the mirror? Over by that hallway. There is also a ghost who reportedly walks, staggers, and crawls up the stairs and stops on the 17th step. Some have said that this is William Drew Winter. Absolutely, it is. I just said that. Alternate versions of his murder claim he managed to crawl up the stairs and collapse in his wife's arms on the 17th step. However, this verse, you know what? They're contesting it. But you wrote it. If you wrote it the first time, don't contest it. It's true, damn it. All right, what did you think? Did you get chills like me? I get so many chills when I was reading some of those. Not gonna lie. So this has been a very interesting last season episode of Mystery Ghost Stories, Myrtle Plantation. A lot of hauntings, a lot of creepy things, a lot of messed up stuff. that led to the hauntings. And that's why I think it's haunted. They'll be like, oh, a lot of this is legend, urban myth, and it's contested. It's like, yeah, but there's great detail about messed up things happening. And it's like, why would somebody make up something so messed up? And then years later, centuries later, we now have these hauntings being reported. I think the Myrtles Plantation is haunted by every single one of those things that I just read. Abso-freaking-lutely. I do hope you enjoyed this last episode of Mystery Ghost Stories, and I hope you enjoyed this season. Do stay tuned in the future, as I will not only be doing more Mystery Ghost Stories, but I will be back for another season of Mystery Unsolved. I am going to throw it out there right now. I am currently reading this book called Unsolved Murders, which has a lot of messed up cases, and I will likely be reading from that book for these cases because there's a lot of gruesome details. So, in a lot of ways, next season for Mystery Unsolved, quite gruesome. Perhaps the gruesomest season ever. And the Mystery Ghost Stories, I will be sure to find some more spooky tales. Perhaps some more like the Myrtles Plantation. That's what you want. That's what I want. Let's do it. Mystery Ghost Stories, Justin Bienvenu. Have a good night.